This where we catch a vibe. What's often overlooked is the strength to rise to occasions. The drive of a man pushed to limits is amazing. Take it how it comes, adjusting to all the changes. Hunger's just creating a man of so many faces. Judgment being passed, not understanding sacrifices. Instagram likes turn into a marriage crisis. Till you live it, you can't tell me a thing. Bobby Krill's March 5th is such a wonderful ring. See, I tried to leave, but then I fell apart. I learned it's easier to prosper when you play your part. Not chasing cloud, I'd rather just keep it genuine. Rapping in my basement is turning into percentages. Talking to myself is just speaking it to existence. Face so much resistance, I battle it with persistence. Failed so many times, I'm ready to go the distance. If you really just believe, your life could change in an instant, that's real. X Factor, how many really got it? That X Factor, turning passion into profit. Another day of living, I'm just happy to see. Be the change you wanna see, and I'm just happy it's me, Krills.
Welcome to the Kickin' It With Me podcast, where you get to kick it with your host, God's Little Soldier. Today's episode is a powerful testimonial on preparation, because every season has a setup. Every step prepares you for the next. This show is about faith, growth, and preparation that molds us both in the physical and spiritual form. Today's word is preparation, so let's define it. Preparation is the action or process of making ready or being made ready for the use or consideration, the groundwork laid before a future purpose or result. Preparation is the unforeseen foundation, is the quiet grind before the spotlight, the sacrifices that build strength, the alignment of your heart within your purpose. Preparation is the hidden oil in your lamp, waiting to be lit when your time comes. And now I'm excited to introduce our next guest. He's a cousin of mine. He's a VP in Employee Relations and Legal Compliance for IPG, which is one of the largest advertising firms in the country. He's a current law student. He's a father, he's a mentor, and a man of faith whose journey has been shaped by developing a strong work ethic within preparation. Welcome to the show, William Manley.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor. Super excited.
Well, I just want to start off by saying I love you and I thank you and I appreciate you for being on the show today. It takes a lot of courage to reflect out loud. As you know, I've been sitting on this project for 3 years. Having this idea about developing a strong work ethic. And when I think about this idea of work ethic, one of the characteristics that helps define this idea is preparation. Sure. And the first person that jumps out at me is you. From wee to Wheaties to this high power, white collar corporate man that you've become today is impressive. And in my eyes, you constantly walk in preparation and not in entitlement. I say this because your work ethic and the way you have disciplined yourself to continuously create this lifestyle of preparation is inspiring. Every time I get to kick it with you, I get inspired. I really do. So I hope that with this testimonial, we all get inspired.
No, I appreciate it. It means a lot. Thanks for having me. It's an honor. Super excited and proud of you just for, kicking this platform off the ground and what you've done with it and where you're going to go with it. Excited to share my story.
Well, on this show, every guest gets to bring a shoe to reflect their story. What does preparation mean to you? And how does this shoe reflect your walk in preparation?
Oh, man. So I'll answer the first question. So what does preparation mean to me? I think preparation is everything, right? I think that as a part of, where you're trying to go and what you're trying to do, you're a result of the preparation and the work that you put in. We were talking earlier in the week in terms of, preparation and what that means or what that looks like. And for me, it just means putting that work in, being willing to put that work in, the long hours, the studying, whether you're in the gym or, whether you're in the library or whether you're meeting with people, making sure that you're as prepared as you possibly can. In terms of the shoe, I know it's kicking it with me and everybody's, most of your guests are going to bring sneakers. And trust me, I have my fair share of sneakers and I got an issue with buying sneakers. But as it relates to, and as I was thinking about it in terms of my walk, my journey, primarily what you have me here for. There's nothing that kind of defines that better than a dress shoe, right? And so specifically in terms of this one, there's a story behind this one. And for a while, I worked at JP Morgan and NASDAQ and in finance, and most of the guys, they wear this specific type of shoe, the Florsheim it's called. And as a part of preparation, it's looking the part. It's to some degree, it's fitting in. And for me, the best way I can kind of crystallize it or articulate it with respect to this shoe, it comes down to me making the transition from having to wear the shoe to wanting to wear shoes.
Ooh, okay.
Right? Like, a lot of times, you gotta wear shoes to church or to work. Once I really fully embraced who I was and what I was looking to do and who I was looking to become, it went from I gotta wear shoes to work to I want to wear shoes. And this is one of the first ones that I got. I don't want to say to fit in, because I'm always going to be me, but to some degree you got to look the part, and that's half the battle. So
I appreciate that. Well, this is a good looking shoe.
thank you.
It's expensive. In corporate world, you gotta, spend a little bit of money, I guess, right? So let's rewind. I want to talk about the timeline of preparation from childhood to now, right? So what was like your childhood like growing up in Perth Amboy? Let's talk about what does like home look like? What does school, community, sports, what does your faith look like at this time?
Yeah, I mean, what does home look like? Home was my mom, my brother, and I. My brother and I had everything we needed. My mom did a great job, a fantastic job of providing for us, of creating and facilitating an environment where we were able to flourish, where we were able to grow, where we were able to explore. A lot of that took the shape in the form of sports, but it was rooted in faith. It was rooted in a love and a desire to please God. My mom is all about worship, all about her faith, not necessarily religion, but her faith and her spirituality and obeying and seeking God. And so it was it had its challenges because of some things that occurred with my father, but it was always rooted in love.
And what were some of those challenges that?
Yeah, I think my dad, he's incredibly successful for the first few years of my life and us growing up, and then unfortunately he started using drugs, and then that ended up in with him passing away, and that was super tough, not only on myself and my brother, but my entire family, my entire extended family. And so it was for a while, and still to this day, it kind of helped define me.
Mm-hmm.
But
how so?
I think, and that's a really good question. I think that first, I think on the surface of it, on the ground of it, I never became a drug user. I kind of always knew and had it in the back of my mind, the possibility or the dangers or what could occur. The other thing I say is just having an appreciation for things. I had an appreciation for everything that my mom brought to the table, everything that my mom was able to provide for us. I had an appreciation for some of the some of the small things, some of the pedestrian things. And then the other thing I'll say in terms of like shaping me is, I knew I wanted to be, whenever I had the opportunity to become a father, I was going to be one that was engaged, one that was present, and one that they did everything to not necessarily give my child everything materialistically, but give my child me.
I got you. And that's something that you felt like you lacked in maybe from your dad?
Yeah, it's something that, to be completely transparent with you, it's something that I just didn't get to experience after the age of like 6 or 7. And I was jealous. I got to see, not everybody had a father, trust me, but the ones that did, it just seemed, not that their lives were perfect, but they just had a stability, a security. And I think what's most important is what fathers do is they provide an identity for your child. They provide you with, the mothers, for the most part, provide like a very nurturing and safe environment. And then the fathers, what they're able to do is really pour into your confidence. And so there was a saying, and I'm kind of going to butcher it a little bit, but like the mother is like a dock of a boat, right? You can always come back to the dock. That's where you dock. That's where you're safe. But the father is like your launching pad. And so that is what I lack, to some degree. And it's something that, in terms of shaping me, I said, whenever it is I became a father, that is what I would, hope to do. That was something that, in terms of preparation, I was going to prepare. I was going to learn. I was going to read and study, and try to really provide that for, from my child, for my family, for my brother, for my cousins, my godsons, so on and so forth.
So it sounds like you want to basically just correct what was the lack of here, or make better.
I think that we always want to build upon, right? And one of my friends, I think you had him on last week, or recently, John Allen. I heard him speak recently, and it was like, the father provides like the floor, and then you just kind of want your children to be able to stack on top of that, right? So wherever your ceiling is, you want that to be your child's floor. And so my father provided a floor. He was an amazing man. He did his thing for us for the time that he did it. But whether he was a drug addict or a CEO, he's providing my floor. He provided us a floor, and then that's gonna or ceiling, and then that's gonna be my my child's floor.
Okay, so with that, right, it comes to my next question, right? How does mom and dad prepare you to be a scholar athlete? And I say this because you are, when we get into it, you are an impressive scholar athlete. So how did mom and dad, how did they prepare you?
Yeah, I'd say it's obviously more, good question. I'd say more so my my mom, because of my situation and circumstances, but seeing my mom work, seeing the sacrifice that she made. She was a teacher, but she got up every day at like 4:00 in the morning and was at school at like 5:30 when you didn't have to be. And so, the preparation that goes into that, the discipline that she instilled in my brother and I in terms of homework, classwork. It was interesting that she never demanded or required that we get A's. Oh. She just demanded that we give it our all, and giving it our all entailed and included and required preparation, right? Like, we didn't have to be the honor roll students, right? Like, but we had to be someone that was respectful, someone that listened, but someone that, when it was time to put that work in, we did it because we were prepared. And again, whether that be homework, whether that be classwork, staying after class, or sitting at the kitchen table and studying.
Okay, I like that. Is there anything that you remember vividly that maybe there was a takeaway from your dad and your mom that was like, yeah, this is what defined me to get to the next step going into my teenage years?
Anything that defined me? Not so much with my dad. I'll say this is that, because of the situation that happened with my father, I didn't really get to know him as the successful person he is. But one of the things that always sticks out, and it's so good to have a father, is that, so the people that were older than me, my uncles and my cousins and some of my my family friends, they always spoke very highly of my father. They always spoke in terms of how brilliant he was, how intelligent he was. And so just hearing that, knowing that that's where I came from. Although, and the interesting, the fascinating part about it is that that's not the man that I got to know, just because I was so young. But hearing people talk about my father in such acclaim, with such respect, with such reverence, right? In terms of, again, the word brilliant came up over and over and over when describing him. It really, again, it set the floor for me. Like I said, listen, I know I'm not maybe the smartest, but it's running through me somewhere, so that's what I'd say is that. And again, that doesn't maybe answer your question directly, because my situation with him I can't point to, a specific situation there, but I can point to a lot of folks when, oh, that's Bill's son, that's Bill's son, that's Bill's son. I think in terms of my, in terms of my mom, what I'd say, and I'm sure she may not want me to share some of these, these crazy stories, but just, she was no nonsense, right? Like, she was no nonsense, and she set a standard and an expectation for who we are. She will always say, because we'd be like, yo, such and such could do that, and she was like, I'm not such and such mom, or such and such ain't my son. And so I think that's so incredibly important when raising a child. Or even, like, I have a team now that reports into me, and I always tell them, like, yo, remember who you represent, regardless of how you feel about it. When you go out into the public, or when you're talking to your clients, or whatever the case may be, you represent me, you represent this team, you represent this organization. And my mom was big in terms of that. Yeah. And obviously, she was a teacher, so she was someone within the community. She was a woman of God, a stark woman of God. And so, there was an expectation from my brother and I, and we didn't always hit it, trust me, because we were kids, but she did a great job of explaining it to us, to the point where after a while we saw it as a privilege, as an honor, as opposed to a hindrance.
I got you. Very nice. So, well, as a teenager, when life starts to pull you in different directions, how do you begin to prepare yourself for adulthood? Was there a person in your life that made you realize how important preparation was? And if so, what did that look like?
Man, these are good questions, bro. You definitely doing your thing. I'd say, you said, as a teenager, how did I prepare for, adulthood? A lot of my teenage years were shaped by football. Okay. You talked about the scholar athlete. A lot of my teenage years were shaped by football, being a quarterback. I played basketball for a little bit, but it was primarily football.
But football was your love.
Football was, at first it was basketball until I stepped on that field, right? And then moreover, once I became a quarterback, there was no looking back. There's nothing like being a quarterback.
So, right? And how did you become a quarterback? Because you and I, we played football together in high school, but we never played youth football, right? You were at Red Raiders, I was playing Bearcats, and then when we finally stepped on the field together, we were in high school, right? But I never got to see this person who became this great quarterback, right? Yeah. From the transformation. So how did you become a quarterback? Did you want to become a quarterback? And the reason why I say that is because the quarterback is the smartest person that needs to know everything, that's most prepared.
Yeah.
They have to be in order to be great. And here you are getting recruited by Monmouth University, which is the D1 school.
Yeah. So how did I become a quarterback? Or you asked me, did I want to? No, I didn't. I wanted to be a wideout. That's my natural position. That's what I love. That's what I kind of first started, doing. My favorite player was Jerry Rice. So that was none of in my wildest dreams, my first 3 or 4 years playing football, that I ever think that I would be a quarterback, or that I even thought that I had the chops to do it, both the arm, the smarts, and this and that. But I think the reason why they told me to do it is because they thought I was smart. And I'm gonna be clear, I don't think that I'm smart, but I think that because I went to Catholic school, they kind of thought like, oh man, he's probably smarter than the rest of the guys.
So there's one thing being smart, right? And there's one thing actually, being an athlete and making the throws, right? Obviously you have to be smart in making reads. You have to, do all these things, but you also have to be good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can be smart and be ass.
Yeah, that's a good point. Listen, that comes down to what you mentioned in terms of preparation. So I didn't grow up necessarily playing football. I was a basketball player. Our whole family, we'd be in the backyard doing dream team, doing crazy passes and stuff. Like, you just kind of fall in love, with it. There's something about football because of the physicality of it, that sets it apart. But no, just the work. I had to I started from zero, like in terms of but they asked me to do it, or they told me to do it because they thought maybe I was smarter than the average, some of my teammates or whatever.
Let's talk about your teammates, because when I look back, right, and we look back at your childhood of playing football in Red Raiders, there were a bunch of athletes, crazy athletes that should have went D1,
definitely,
that possibly could have been on the borderline, pro. Like, how do you thrive in an environment of supernatural athletes?
Yo, that's a good question. I think it's man, there's a lot there, but I think it's knowing your role. You know what I mean? Knowing what you bring to the table. I was never the fastest. I was never, certainly not the strongest or the biggest, but one of the things I did, and this is why it's so crazy that when you first talked to me about I want you to talk about preparation, the first thing I told you is I'm not prepared. But what it was, I think, is that putting that work in, right? And that's the preparation, right? Whether it be at a young age, it's learning the plays. I'm not in the weight room, right? But it's learning the plays. It's being on time for practice. It's having your jersey, having having the necessities or the requirements, and then being a leader, right? And at that time, like, I wasn't some super great athlete that I ended up becoming a little bit. So it was just, to answer your question, it's knowing your role. And so whenever they needed me, or whenever it was, I wasn't the guy that I ended up becoming to get to Monmouth in high school. I wasn't that player in Red Raiders whatsoever. You know, it's just so crazy how it all played out. But no, just knowing my role, I was not going to be the number one player. I wasn't the number 5, number 6, number 7, or 8 player, I'd say, on my Pop Warner teams. I just knew my I knew my role. And so I think that in life sometimes that's so important. And I tell my guys when I was growing up playing ball, I tell my team now at work is that, and it's easy for me to say because I ended up becoming a Q or whatever, but like, we need everybody. Everybody's role is important, and your role is just as important as mine. It's just that my shine is going to be different. But without, the lineman, you know what I'm saying? I can't throw the ball to myself. And then definitely if I drop back and they're not blocking, there's nothing going anywhere. So whose role is actually more important? Is it mine, or is it yours? It's equally as important. It's just that the attention or the shine or blah, blah, blah. And then also, if things go wrong, it comes back necessarily, on me as opposed to that. But to answer your question, how do I thrive? It's knowing my role, knowing what I brought to the table, and then being prepared. They always say, hey, the best ability is availability. When your number is called, you got to know what it is. And I remember growing up so many times, again, because there's so much happening when you're a child. Your number be called and you don't know the play. You feel me? Or your number is called and you running the wrong play, or you not there. Like you don't even got your. Hey, remember that? You know what I mean?
Wait, what's the play?
There's a lot of guys, but what? That's a good point. Is that there's a lot of guys that will come to me and say, "Yo, what's the play? What do I got?" And again, I'm not
crazy. A lot of people come to you right now and be like, "Hey, what's my resume look like?
What should I do?
What should I do?"
Yeah.
So think about that. People come to you then. Now people come to you now. It's just a different.
Yeah. I see
scenario.
it. I see when I interview or when I talk to things. It's just football. That's all it is. Like I do football. It's team building. It's recruiting. It's having difficult conversations. You remember some of the difficult conversations you have to have with the coach, or the coach with you, or you, especially as the quarterback or a leader, you with you with your teammates. You know what I mean? On the sideline, sometimes in the huddle. I'm usually the one that's talking, and so I think that's really what it was. Now that I think about it, is that again, when you're at a young age, the quarterback had to take the play from the sideline to the huddle, and you got to remember it.
Because I forgot it by the time I get there.
There's a lot of times I did as well. But you're absolutely right in terms of the preparation. I just never thought about it as preparation, but just knowing the plays, knowing what to say, and then knowing what everybody's going to run.
And everybody else's plays.
And then also, the defense.
You have to know everybody and know the defense and all
that.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So let's really hone in, right? Because now, before we get into college, right, this athlete that gets recruited, from high school to Monmouth, right? Before we get there, there's a person that influenced your life to develop this strong work ethic, that has highlighted preparation. Because I'm telling you, when I look at the person who has demonstrated the highest level of preparation in their life, and I'm telling you, this is not because you're my cousin, but I've seen it since we were kids. I've seen it, like how we were just talking about, D-Car, how she instilled those things, and understanding who your dad is. Because even though we don't have all these great memories of him, but he also worked in human resources. Right? He was a bright man, and I know through, maybe not through direct influence, but he definitely influenced you to demonstrate this preparation, this lifestyle of preparation that now has created this adult lifestyle of success.
Certainly.
And so let's talk about this person that helped you realize that preparation is extremely important to be successful.
Yeah, man, he's actually the person that it's crazy how God works, right? Like when God knows what he's doing. And so I didn't have a blood father alive through the majority of my life, but I did have a father figure in my life, and it's just so crazy how it all played out. And that's Jeff Gums Sr. He's one of my best friend's father. He's just he was a former athlete, successful athlete, played D1 basketball, a prominent figure in our community growing up. Anybody that's from Amboy, they all know the Gums family, and you certainly know Jeff. Jeff Sr. I grew up down the street from him, and he really just took my brother and I under his wing. You'd never know that we weren't his sons. Anywhere where his son, who was the same age as me, anywhere his son was going or doing, he took us along with him, whether it be batting practice, whether it be going down to Kingsburg, whether it be, you know, trips. He took us with him. But once it really comes down, you know, to sports, it was that putting that time in the weight room, going to different basketball camps. Once he really, and the best part about Jeff is Jeff never played football a day in his life. But once he really is like, hey, listen, he wants to play football. It was that time in the weight room, day after day, morning after morning. He allowed us to go to a personal gym. And so we didn't go to a public gym. We had access to it anytime we wanted. And he would wake us up at 5 o'clock in the morning every single day. And the thing about it is we could have went at 7. You know, we could have went at 8. It was like, nah, we doing this at 5:30. And in terms of the preparation, again, I don't necessarily think of it as preparation, but that's what it was. He was preparing our bodies. But what he was really doing was
mentally.
What he was really doing was preparing our minds. He was breaking us down and ripping us apart and building us back up.
What was that like?
It was hell. It was hell. It was difficult. It was challenging because, you know, you're 15, 16 years old. It's your summer. You're not trying to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you're certainly not trying to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and be yelled at, be ridiculed, be offended, be disrespected, be told that you're not strong enough, or that like this is the same thing you lifted yesterday. But he knew exactly what he was doing. He was preparing us for, you know, what was to come on that field for college sports, but he was also preparing us for preparation, right? Preparing us for the real world where no one's going to give you anything. It's about what you go out and what you earn, and how you go about earning that is the work you put in the lab. The work that you put in that, you know, in that weight room. He was incredibly instrumental, sharing the stories that from his childhood, from when he was in high school, certainly the stories from when he was in when he was in college, but just spending that time with us. And I was telling you earlier in the week, it became such that the first 2 or 3 years he had to make us get up, and he picked us up. Till once we started driving, we was up. He didn't have to call us. That's the best part about it, right? He didn't have to call us. No alarm clock had to go off. We would get up on our own, go hit that gym.
So he instilled this type of work ethic, right?
A ridiculous work ethic.
That now led you to not rely on him anymore.
Yeah.
So now it's like, it's naturally you want to be in the gym. You want to do this. You want to get better. You want to practice. You want to, whatever the level of success is in your mind, you want to achieve that, and you're doing it by you're doing it with self-motivation because of this implemented work ethic that Jeff Combs has instilled in you.
Yeah, you know what? He just knew what he was doing, and that's why a father is so important, or parents in general are so important. You know what it ended up being for us is you start to see yourself get a little stronger. Once you have some success, it's like, I want more. I want more of this. And so he would beat us down for Monday through Thursday, and then Friday, you know, he'll let us look in the mirror. Think about that. You can't look in the mirror Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Like let's go look in the mirror and see what it is. And then, you know, once I stepped on the field and had some success, that was it. It was like, yo, like this is, and maybe it wasn't because of all the work.
Because it became a lifestyle.
Oh yeah, and listen, maybe it wasn't because of all the work, but we'll never know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so like once my junior year happened, and you know I was playing with you at that time, and we had success going to the playoffs, and then the letters start to roll in from colleges, and this is like, man, this is a possible. Like this is very realistic to me.
What was realistic to you?
That I can go and play college ball for this. And so one of the reasons why I transferred schools is a lot happened, but like I can go and play college ball. And one of the big things about playing football, at the collegiate level is just I tell people all the time, when you playing ball in college, you're not playing ball. You're just in the weight room. That's all it is. You get a little bit of time on that field, a little bit of time preparing, but it's most of the time in the weight room. But once I saw a little bit of success that junior year, and we had a lot of success that year. And then again, the letters start rolling in that winter and that spring. It was over. I'm like, no, definitely I'm going to the weight room. Definitely putting this time in. After that, we about to go on the field, and then we're going to go to this camp or this 7-on-7. And so, but a lot of it, honestly, it came down to the work ethic that my mom, definitely instilled in me. But in terms of like, there's something about being an athlete, you have to be almost out of your mind. You have to be, to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over. And again, you're seeing some results, but a lot of times you preparing months before the season even starts, right? And so like he gave us this craziness, this ruthlessness, this aggressiveness of just wanting it. And then he'll let you're not as good as me. You never be as good as me. But did it in a way that motivated us,
you.
that uplifted us, that elevated our game. You know, I told you
because you're a competitive person. When when you compete and you're competitive, you want you're not satisfied with the status quo because you want to be better, right? Every time you step on a field, I know this because when I step on the field or the basketball court, I already told myself I'm the best.
Gotta be
player. Honest. Why? Because I know I prepared and put the work in more than anybody on the court or the field.
Yeah.
Like, so when I step on this court, like, I own it because I know the person across from me, he didn't work as hard.
He didn't put that work, and
I
can say that almost for a fact. I can say that for a fact that they didn't put the work in that we did, and even if they did, we never know it.
Yeah.
Like he was just crazy, man, and that's why again having someone, whether it be a father or a father figure, he would be looking at stuff in the paper and be like, "Hey, man, hey, you're not as good as him, man. Like, why are they not talking about you?" And the other part about it is you could see. You're competitive, but like he was a big dude, so like you think you're getting big, he'd be like, "Yo, let me show you something real fast." And so you be like, "Damn, I think I'm getting stronger," but he out here throw 4 or 5 plates out there. It's like, man, I got a long way to go. But at the same time, really, hey, when we started here, you was doing X. Now look at what you're doing. It's that perfect mesh of push pull, that perfect mesh of, man, you ain't nothing to man, you everything. And if you keep going, I could see some things for here for you. I told you he would go we would go in the weight room, we would lift for 2 hours, right? Then he'd go take us upstairs and absolutely destroy us in basketball. Not taking nothing easy on us, jump shots, backing us down, all this crazy stuff to the point where you're just sitting there just like, yo, man, like let's go play football. You know what I'm saying? Let's get out of here. But that's what it is. Just this a lot of it was talking
like
smack.
Torture,
but that's you do that so that way, and you always say you do this, everything else gonna be easy. You think that come camp, we was out here. The camps was easy. The 2-a-days, the 3, it was absolutely nothing because he was doing.
That's not what he meant though. What he meant is that life is gonna be easier. And when I say that is because if you look, let's take a quick look, right? You work, right? Now look at you now. Look at your life, right? What you've created for yourself because of this work ethic, this strong work ethic that you've created, right, since you were a kid, and that you continue instilling in yourself. And we're going to talk about this because going into adulthood, you made some different strides, but great strides, right? But it was the transfer, right, of this work ethic,
certainly,
of preparation, because it started with sports, and then as we go into college, right, and playing college football, right? And then as we now become an adult, we get to see this huge transformation, right? And I mean, it's a transformation ever since you were a kid, but it's like you turn it into, you went into, turbo mode, right? And so let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about, now you get recruited, you're at Monmouth University, you're playing football, right? At this time, is there a moment that was that tested your preparation or showed how unprepared you were?
Yeah, it was not playing football. So I went to Monmouth. I got recruited by a lot of different schools. I ended up going to Monmouth because Monmouth had recruited me since I was 16 years old. They was on me from oh man, but it just didn't end up working out. And that's another podcast. But I didn't end up actually suiting up. I was in camp and there's a lot that happened, but I didn't end up actually suiting up for the regular season. And so that was a pivotal moment for me because I was unprepared for not having ball. Think about that. I had played ball since I was 8 years old, and I'm now 19 years old in college, your first year in college, right? I'm going to this college to play football. That's the only reason why I'm here. I never even heard of Monmouth before that, and there's no ball. And so, I'm completely unprepared for that moment. I'm completely a fish out of water.
There's no ball because you redshirt?
No, so there's no ball. It's just there's a lot that happening with ended up happening with my scholarship and with some of the with some of the money. Also with the position they wanted me to play, I wasn't.
So they wanted you to change positions.
Most certainly, yeah.
So you got recruited. So you're in high school. You're playing quarterback, right? Listen, I was the wide receiver. I was catching all the balls. But you get recruited to Monmouth, but they want you to play a different position. Yeah. And that didn't sit well with you.
Well, I mean, the way it kind of played out, it just wasn't. And again, this was maybe if I would have had, I hate to say a father, but just somebody that was maybe guiding me and whatever.
A little bit more prepared.
Yeah. Just again, to your point, being more prepared for the moment.
For the recruiting process.
The recruiting process.
And understanding what what school may fit best for me.
For sure.
And so, and just so, I know a lot of people don't understand the recruiting process when they're playing sports, but you know, when you're getting recruited to play, when you're getting recruited by multiple schools, right? Every school has, you know, their style of play, right? Some may be a throwing school, some may be more of a running school, right? And so for me, I know if I'm a wide receiver, I want to be at a school where we throwing the ball, right? So I could completely understand how that could get all lost in translation and, you know, in that recruiting process, because guess what? We don't know these things, right? As we get older, we start to understand like, oh, Steph Curry works well on this team because they're constantly in transition, you know? And that's just an example,
there's a lot
right?
that played into it. And, you know, a lot of the schools that were recruiting me were in cold weather places. Ooh. I was certain, you know me, cause I'm not trying to go to cold. But again, that was not having that man to say, hey man, don't you even worry about that. That's just one element of it. Trust me.
We gotta talk to Jeff Gomes and say, why didn't you have you out there and zeros?
Nah, we wasn't doing that. We wasn't doing that.
Doing, you know,
but that was it. And again, just looking at it really short-sighted. But also the other element of it was, you know, there's two things. That thing is that Monmouth was 1AA. So like when you're young, what's the big thing? You trying to go D1, you know? And if it's not D1, you trying to go 1AA. Not necessarily thinking that like it don't matter whether I'm D1AA or D17 because it ain't, you know what I'm saying? It ain't Michigan, it ain't Alabama. I need to go to where the best fit is for me and where they believe in me, you know, the most. And then the other thing is that Monmouth, again, because of how they got me when I was young. Like, I didn't really take too many visits. I went to Monmouth, and then, you know, my other visits were to Monmouth, and then I took an official, an unofficial. I kept going back there on a regular basis because I fell in love with the university, with the campus. Miles Austin was there at that time. There was nothing, you know, there was I got so many letters with them, MU from them. It was just, you know, it was a lot, but not leveraging it, the offers, not taking advantage of, you know, I took so many trips to Monmouth. If I would have taken a couple trips just elsewhere, you know, maybe I would have fell in love, you know, with it there. But that's kind of how that played out. And then the situation I really think is, so it's like, you know, I was a quarterback. They didn't necessarily think I could be a quarterback there, and that's one of the reasons why I probably should have went to a smaller school because they would allow me to play, you know, to play Q. But I was okay with playing wide out. Going back to where we first started out, that was my natural position. But once I got down there, they was like, "Yo, you know, we want you to play DB," and I was like, "Nah."
Listen. If we know Will,
I'm not playing. No
like
DB.
he told me before this podcast, he says, "Preparation. Now, I'm not the guy." He's not the guy.
Nah, I'm not.
No. He ain't hitting nobody.
I'm not. Well, I think later on, but that's the thing is that like they saw Monmouth, and I got to give it. They saw something in me that I didn't see in me. And you know, they weren't the only school that was recruiting me to play DB. A lot of times you got, you know, the fast black kid, we're gonna put him on DB.
They didn't see the same teams I saw.
Well, nah, they definitely didn't see that. Well, maybe they did, but they didn't see some of the plays. But nah, I just knew. I'm like, man, like I knew early on, like, man, I'm not tackling these dudes. I'm not. This is some real life. And this is before they throwing the ball 50 times a game. Now, I think that. In this time when they throwing the ball so much, if somebody say, "Yo, we want you to be DB," I'd be like, you know what, I can maybe do that. We talk about they running the ball, and these are some big, and not when I'm coming from, you know, being the, you know, all GMC, all division, all this at. With the pill, you know what I'm saying, with the ball, like, you know, and granted, I think I got all GMC for DB because I had a couple interceptions, but I kind of looked at that, man, that was by accident, you know what I'm saying, like that was just like a formality. I was just out there because I had to be out there. I wasn't gonna be cheap.
I gave you one.
You did give me one. You did give me one. Tapped it over. But that's why, you know, I didn't like that. And then they also had kind of played around with the scholarship money a little bit as well. They knew that I was going there regardless. So it was like, yo, if we got him, we don't gotta empty the scholarship money for him because he's coming here. And again, not playing it in the best to my advantage. And so I just didn't end up playing. And then that led to me being unprepared for what that next step is. I'm like, yo, what is the next? Truth be told, I didn't even know what I wanted to major in. Like, you asked me what I wanted to major, I'm majoring in football and girls. I'm not like major. I got years to figure that out. Like, I don't need to figure out what my major is. But that, looking back at it, that was one of the best things that ever happened to me.
So once you realized football was over, right? What sacrifices did you have to start to make? Now looking back.
Yeah, it was the work again. Like, I had to now going back to kind of what you said with Jeff is that like I took all of the work, all of that energy, that maniacal just everything, and from the football field, from the weight room, and I started putting it into the library. I started putting into, I didn't know what I wanted to be yet, but I did say, hey, I'm gonna get some good grades, because at that time, and this is not how it is, everybody that's known, trust me, this is not necessarily how it goes, but I thought that if I get great grades, I'm gonna get a good job. And that's not how it goes at all. But what it did, it helped me to really, again, to prepare. It helped me to prepare. I spent, anybody that knows me from 2005 to 2010 when I was down on that Monmouth University campus, anybody that knows me, they know me from being in the library. I took all that time from the weight room, from the practice field, from watching film, and instead of just like partying all the time, or doing this, I was definitely having a good time with the ladies or whatever. But I took it and I spent almost the majority of my time in the library. I remember, and I was telling you this, the library would be open every day till 12 o'clock. I'd stay there till 12 o'clock, and then I'd go to the 24-hour lab till 2 or 3. And the best part about college is you get home at 1 or 2 o'clock, the party just getting started. So, but I was, that's what it was.
You disciplined yourself.
Oh, definitely.
But it came because you had this work ethic that Mr. Gum's mom, dad instilled in you at a very young age. And because of, this lifestyle that you created, now you get to transfer this in your adulthood into real life. I want to say real life, but into adulthood as far as, being, this corporate successful man that you've become.
Practical living. I think that I was able to transition it to practical living. And what it did was it provided me with a new identity, to be honest with you. I went from Will to quarterback to Wheaties. Yeah, I went from Will Manley, this quarterback, to like, hey, listen, I'm at mom, ain't no quarterback. There's quarterbacks, it ain't me, to honestly, and I say this with all due respect to myself, to like Will the geek. And I really embraced that the same way I embraced being a Q, the same way I kind of like again, that work that we was putting in the lab, that work that I was putting in, making sure I was eating and the protein shakes, trying to put on weight and watching film and going to quarterback camps and this and that, was the same thing that I put in the in the lab. I majored in literature, you know what I'm saying? Like, that ain't the easiest thing to do. And then I ended up picking up minors in psychology. I have degrees in psychology and sociology, because I was like, man, this ain't enough. It's similar to football, where you doing it, it's a full-time job. I didn't have to do that, but because, to your point, that work ethic, the preparation, I knew that, I wasn't down here for no reason. And again, I was having my fun. I don't want to put it out here like I wasn't enjoying myself, because I sure was. But my main goal wasn't to be down there to have fun. My main goal was to get a degree and to figure out whatever my next step was. And the crazy and the ironic and the fascinating part about it is that, like, I didn't figure out what my next step in terms of my career was going to be until a year or two out of college. And so, again, it's crazy how it all works out.
Let's talk about that.
Definitely.
So we graduate college, right? You now discipline yourself being a student, right? Now you become a student of the game of the game as far as wanting to figure out what you want to do and now enhance your career, right? And whatever it is that God is going to lead you to be, right? And so you graduate from Monmouth University with what type of degree?
So I went to school, my degrees are in English, in psychology and sociology. So for the first couple years I was there, or after I kind of like determined what I wanted to do, I wanted to be a journalism professor. Okay. I went to school to teach English at the collegiate level. I was writing, I was heavy into writing at the time in college, and so I thought that my mom was a teacher, and teaching and education is super important to me. And there's nothing like college. I love college. I love campuses.
And you're so a current law student now, right?
I'm in, yeah, well, hey. But
how old are you?
I am 38. I'm 38.
It's never too late.
Never. Oh my goodness.
Never too late.
But I wanted to I thought I was going to become this professor of journalism, this professor of literature, this professor of English, and teach at a Monmouth or a Rutgers or a Middlesex. I remember thinking like I'll teach at a county college or whatever, but that's what my degree was, my degrees were in, and that's what I thought that I was going to end up doing. And then I did student teaching. This is a great story. I did student teaching for one semester. I did student teaching because they say, you to be a teacher, to get educated, you got to be a student teacher. I'm like, nah, I'm going to be a professor. They say, you still got to do student teaching. I did one marking period or whatever. I went to Longbranch, a school in Longbranch.
I said, never again. I said, so that's what changed your mind.
That's what and again, why, that was me. Nah, because you
But
you
why,
have to have a love. You should. Maybe a lot of teachers don't, but to me, because my mom was a teacher, I had so much respect for the profession that like you can't half-ass it. You shouldn't shortchange it, because the only people that would feel that would be the students, right? Like if you're a teacher, you should either have a love for what your subject matter is, a love for teaching, a love for children, or all three. Me, I had none of them. You feel me? I liked writing a little bit. I liked the English, but I wasn't out here, because you never knew me for walking around reciting Shakespeare. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't that for me. And I just knew, like, you know what I think it was too? To be transparent, I'm not like, I got a lot and I've accomplished a lot, but I'm lazy. So like when I saw the student teaching, I would have had to do 3 or 4 marking periods of that. And I'm like, yo, I'm not doing that. Like I just wasn't about that. And I think that if they would have had me student teaching with college kids, it would have been like, this is what I want to do. They had me student teaching with, like, I had to do elementary. I said, no, I'm not doing that. And so that's kind of what took me away from that, which sometimes I look back on, I regret a little bit, but now it was one of the best things that happened, because if not, I wouldn't be, in the space that I'm in now.
So all right, so tell me, so we graduate with a couple of degrees.
Definitely. Honor Society. I want to make sure that Dean's List.
Yes.
Dean's List, baby.
And how many times did you make Dean's
List every year besides my freshman year? So after freshman year,
football, you made this mental change, like, oh, if it's not football, it has
it's
to
gonna
be
be something. It's gonna be something.
And so that was a pivotal point where you're like, you know what? I'm making sure my grades are good.
I'm throwing my all into this.
Because you said to yourself, in your mind, if I have good grades,
I'm gonna get a good job. Yeah.
Right?
Was I wrong?
But maybe not right away. But look where you're at right now.
What I ended up learning was not the subject matter. What I ended up learning was the work, the preparation, the being able to, because again, we're going to get there in terms of once I graduated, the work that had to go into finding out what I was going to do. And then once I found out I want to do this, the work that had to go from, all right, you going from 0 to this. And so that's what it was, is that like, but I wanted to call out the Dean's List and that National Honor Societies, because like, that's how crazy I went with it, right? Like that's how serious I took it. Yeah, because again, it was like, to your point, what you've been talking about is that I just took what we was doing, all that football stuff, and I just put it right. I literally just put, because you're gonna have to fill them hours with something, and rather than fill it with just like, pointless things. And I kind of learned early on that like at a school like Monmouth, the fun is always gonna be there. So I'm trying to kill this, so that way, because the fun is even more fun when you don't got to worry about doing that paper. I'm telling you right now, it's always in the back of your mind. And so I would just get that work done. And again, I kind of took on this identity of I hate to say a geek, but like this person that I just fell in love with the process. I fell in love with the work. I fell in love with completing things, with handing things in,
bettering yourself.
Well, at that point,
you're every year you're constantly if I look at you, you're better than last year, right? You're doing something that has enhanced either your career or your lifestyle.
I just kind of looked at it as like football, because I didn't think about it as bettering myself. I just looked at, because like again, I went there to play ball, so I'm gonna be out here 1 year. To your point, first year I'm gonna throw for 2,000. Next year I'm gonna throw for 3. They thought I was gonna be tackling, but that's all it was. Like because to me, it wasn't too much of an effort, because I was gonna be going down there to be a D1 athlete. It was easier for me to do that than to be a D1 athlete. Like the what you got to do, what you have to give up, what you have to commit, the hours, the travel, and a lot of it wasn't. There was only but a couple stars. There's a lot of people on the football team that they ain't no, like the dude that's at the bottom of the bench got to do the same amount of work as the star. And so I didn't really see it as that, but it was that energy, that same amount of hours I just put into. I put into the lab, I put into the library, and I keep calling out the libraries because that's where I spent the majority of my time, and that's when I was like, yo. Most people are not okay with silence. Most people are not okay with a quietness or stillness. Most people are not okay with like sitting down and putting in that work. They need all this. They need this. At the time, Facebook was popping. I remember I'll take my roommates to the library with me. We spend some time there. They spend we be there for 3 hours, 2 hours and 45 minutes for them. Facebook. It's time to go. I'm like, what you got done?
You have Facebook?
Huh?
Do you have Facebook?
I did have Facebook for a little bit. Well, later on I got it, but and even now to this day I don't have the social media because of the distraction. Like I know, I know kind of, what my
it takes
situation
away
is.
from your preparation.
Yo, my goodness, does it? But no, that's what it was.
So let's talk about how you achieved such success in the corporate world as a young black man. since graduating from college?
Yeah, I think for me, I had to figure out what I wanted to do, and that's the toughest part. That's the scariest part. It was one of the most scariest parts or times of my life, because you go from, and this is how life does it, man. You go from Dean's List, honor society. I was living in houses on the beach. It was amazing, dog. I had a nice little jobs. I was driving an Infiniti at the time. It was great. By that time, I'm 5 years in the mom. Can't nobody tell me nothing on that campus. You feel what I'm saying? Like, it is amazing, to graduate. You walk across the stage. It's great. And now, like, it smacks you in the face. It's like some kids, they got jobs in advance. I wasn't one of them I went, and the crazy part about it is, you got to go. I had to go home to my mom's house, to the room I grew up in. And now, all that stuff, them degrees or the honor society, like, it don't mean nothing. Because now I'm out here with people with 5 years, 10 years, and the interesting part, or the tough part about me is, this was 2010. So if you remember back to 2010, what was going on in our country? We was in the midst of the recession, which hit in 2008, 2009. So there was a lot of people that were unemployed. So I was competing with people's dads. And at that time, I didn't know what it is I wanted to do. And so I was applying for a lot of the jobs that everybody else.
But you knew you didn't want to be a teacher.
No, I knew. Listen, it wasn't going to happen because I didn't get the education. If I would have got the because to be a teacher, you have to have your math, science, English, but you also need an education
and you
part.
need to put the pre-qualifications.
And I didn't have that. So it was too late. If I wanted to be a teacher, I would have to go back and get the education component. I mean, maybe, but if I was going to do that, I was going to go back and go to law school.
I remember having a conversation with you, and I remember having this conversation, and you said, it doesn't make sense financially, Marcus. I owe this, I will make that. And then I felt like that might have, it kind of influenced you a little bit.
I mean, at that time, it really wasn't the biggest. It's so crazy. Like, at that time, it didn't make sense. It didn't, and I want to be clear. But at that moment, right when I had graduated, dog, it's so crazy how life works, man. I just wanted to make $45,000 a year because I wanted to buy a Dodge Charger and I wanted to just stunt. You feel me? I thought, like, if I made 45 living at my mom's house, I'm gonna be able to get this Charger. Maybe I can get a little apartment, something like that.
How much money did you make right out of college?
Oh, my first job. So I was working at the library with my internship. My first job, like my first job, I was making $15. I think it was maybe $13.50, but it was $15.
$13.50. Yeah, well, I remember $13.50.
Yeah. It wasn't even $15 to work at a nonprofit.
But let's talk about that. So you worked at a nonprofit.
Yeah, no, but so I went through a series of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I went on so many interviews, and the jobs that you can get when you don't got experience are sales job. Okay. It was called account executive job. And so I remember telling my mom, like, yo, I got an interview for an account executive. She was like, oh, what? Like, that's great. Not knowing an account executive is just somebody that goes door to door trying to sell you. At the time that we was trying to sell like Xerox machines or trying to sell paper it was like I got an opportunity doing it for Verizon Fios, walking around New Brunswick. I went on so many different interviews, selling insurance. Like, bro, it was, all of them came down to that. And so, but you know what it was is that, it was to your point, too. It was the preparation. So the time, because I had spent so much time in terms of my academics in the library, I was very much comfortable with sitting in my mom's basement looking at jobs, applying for jobs. And so because I had did that, I'm like, you got to be realistic with yourself, right? I'm like, yo, what can I do? With my degree, what can I do with my skill set and my background? I'm not no mathematician, no science person. And then what would I not mind doing? It wasn't at that point. It wasn't what I wanted to do.
So let me ask you a question. Is at this point, the dad, like like what he did in the past ever influence you? What he wanted to do?
Never. Because, and people always say that now, like, oh, you got into HR because your dad. The dad I knew, I didn't know him as HR. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know. I knew him. Sometimes he would wear a suit. I remember he worked in Newark because he would be at New Jersey Transit. But the Bill that I knew wasn't some businessman, wasn't some corporate guy. Maybe you could say it was running through my blood, but no. I got into HR, really, to be very, very frank, right? I got into HR because I wanted to get into business. Okay. I wanted the money. And so I'm like, yo, what can I do?
What I was talking about. Hey, definitely. Well, how come you changed your mind? Well, I owe this much. Teachers make this much. It don't add up to me.
But realistically, I wasn't going to make. No, it did. But realistically, I wasn't going to touch it in that soon. But I wanted. There was something about business, and that's what comes down to Big Jeff. We would, in addition to Jeff taking us to the weight room, Jeff would also a lot of times take us to school, and so we would see him get dressed. That's why he was always in a suit. He was always suited. His presentation or his what he looked like meant so much to him. And so I'm like, yo, I want to dress like that. And again, this is somebody that like I have no idea. Just think about what I'm saying is that like that dictated what I was gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You're not gonna see a lot of teachers suited and booted. And so, but just trying to figure out, what can I do? So again, asking myself, what can I do with my degree, right? What skill set do I have? And then what would I might not mind doing in business? So I went through all the things in business. Sales, definitely not trying to sell. Business management, can't do that really. Marketing, advertising, finance, no, I definitely can't do no finance. Law, I didn't have no law degree. And so it's like, what can you do? HR is just people. Now granted, you definitely need a degree in it, but you don't necessarily need a degree in it. And so just put in the work and like, how do I get into HR? The bottom of HR, the easiest way to get into HR is recruiting. And so I started applying for recruiting jobs over and over.
First recruiting job you got after the nonprofit
was JP Morgan.
JP Morgan Chase.
Yeah.
So that's a pivotal moment for you, right? Because now here you are working for $13.50 an hour for a non-profit organization. Mm-hmm. You get this. To me, like it was like wow, you got a JP Morgan job.
Yeah, you know what it is, but it goes back to what you're saying and why I'm here. I guess is the preparation. So in between going from Monmouth to getting that nonprofit, I went on several different interviews. I went on over 40, 50 interviews. I flew down to Atlanta 2-3 times because I was going to try to, I wasn't getting no HR jobs whatsoever in Jersey, New York. And so I thought, maybe as a black man, I'd have more success down in Atlanta or Marietta. So I went down to Atlanta, I think 3 separate times on interviews. And so I remember but I say all that to say, in going on all them interviews, I learned how to interview. I learned how to prepare for an interview. I learned how to articulate myself. I learned how to be a lot more comfortable. I remember one of my boys, Jeff, would say, hey, because you faking it till you make it. I learned how to fake it until I made it. And so I remember being down in Atlanta, I'm on an interview.
So
it didn't work out.
Interviews as practice.
I use the interviews as, there's no doubt about it, but I use the interviews to figure out, what do I need to say? What are they looking for? If you go on enough of them, you know what I'm saying? You miss enough foul shots, you're going to know that ain't working, Yeah. And so, but I also use the interviews for recruiting jobs to become the recruiter. So when I finally started to sit down and tell me what you did. I never really did too much, but I knew what they was talking about during those interviews. So I just kind of put it together. But I remember I was down in Atlanta on an interview and I was flying back to Jersey. And that morning I flew back to Jersey. I went in for the interview for the nonprofit in Princeton. And bro, I was so hot, like in a good way. I was coming from Atlanta and I've been interviewing. And so when they sat down with me, cause they thought I lit them on fire. Granted, they didn't have a lot of options because they was only paying $13 an hour. But before I left the building, they said, do you want the job? And I was like, yeah. And so I had that job. And at the same time, I got another offer from a hospital. And I really wanted to work at the hospital. The hospital was paying way more money. It was sexier. This nonprofit was whack. It was far from home. But the nonprofit was going to allow me to get more HR experience, where the hospital job was just going to be in one specific. And so the big thing I want to hit on is know what you're trying to do. When you know what you're trying to do, even though it may not be the most money or it may seem like a step back, if you know where you're trying to go with it, it's actually going to be a step forward. At that time, the hospital was paying like $20 an hour. That's a lot more money than the $13.50, and you're going to be in the hospital. I think it was at like Overlook or something like that. And I had accepted it because
so you took knowledge over finance, over money, to then put you in a better position.
Because of what I learned from the interviews. I learned that in the corporate space, just like anything else, what you need is experience. If you don't got the experience, you need to be somebody's son. And we already know that wasn't the situation.
Yeah, because you didn't graduate with
a degree. Yeah. And so like I was already behind the 8 ball, and so you need that experience. And so rather than take the little bit of money that was going to be the more money, or a lot of bit of money, I'm like, I'm going to be able to work with these. They were generalists, they were called. And I kind of knew I wanted to be a journalist. I thought I wanted to be a recruiter, but I'm like, I'd like to be a journalist. And so long story short, I accepted that. I did that for about 7 or 8 months. I learned a lot doing background checks. I ended up doing recruiting there. And then I honestly, man, I just got a call from a recruiter at JP Morgan. And this is God. Like when you where you're supposed to be, you doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Apply directly.
I did not. Nah. He just called. Well,
so
I prepared. Listen, I prepared because I had my resume. This is back now. It's a while ago. I had my resume on Career Builder. Shout out to Career Builder, the orange and blue. I don't know if y'all remember it, but that was a big thing at that time. I had it posted, and this recruiter just reached out to me. He was like, hey, blah blah blah, and I was prepared. So when he called me, because of all the interviews I had went on, because all the work that I put in my mom's basement. Yo, you know what it was? I was down in Atlanta, this and that. You know where I started to go? Because I only knew one thing. The only thing I know is work. So I started going back to the library. When I couldn't find a job, when I couldn't I said, yo, I got to go back to what I know. I know libraries. You feel me? I went back to the library and I started studying, getting HR books, getting this and that, just doing my preparation, writing my notes down, really putting in that work in the LIB. And so when that recruiter from JP Morgan called, I remember I was in Princeton. I went in my car, and bro, it was just time. It was like the lights on the football field came on the Friday night lights, and I knew the play. I knew what everybody was running. And so he was like, yo, you know, blah, 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 blah. Call me back. He was like, yo, we're going to have you come into the city. And at the time, yo, I'm from Amboy. I don't really know nothing about no JP Morgan. I heard of Park Avenue. Don't know nothing about it. You know, I got the thing. They brought me in the park, bro. They brought me in the Park Avenue, and I was prepared. I met with the manager. And again, it wasn't the biggest role. It was a regular, junior role. But I was prepared for the junior role. But before I walked out of there, they essentially offered me the job there, and I've really never looked back from there.
Wow, if that's not inspiring, I don't know what is. But it doesn't stop there, and that is that's the inspiring part, because here you are, right? You get the job at JP Morgan Chase, right? I just know from as a family member, I'm super proud of you, and I know all our family members are super proud of you. And How long did you stay at JP?
So I didn't even stay at JP a year. So I was at JP for just about a year, and I knew that I saw this black guy, and it helped that he was black, right? He was a black guy, and he wasn't no black hood dude. He was just a black guy. He was dressed nice. His suits, you could tell that they was expensive. His shoes was what they should be. He was clean cut, and everybody when he walked on the floor, everybody was just like, his name was Chris Henry. He works for the NFL now. Shout out to Chris. He would walk on the floor.
So he lights up the room when he walks in it.
Well, not necessarily with his personality. You light up the room with your personality. He lit up the room just with his presence. There was something about Chris something about him. Just the way that he moved, the way that he, because he wasn't a big talker. But I'm just like, man, who's that? And so not too many people at that time at JP had offices. And so I don't know what I was thinking. I walked by his office one day, and I think because he was black, and at that time I thought all blacks was
you felt comfortable.
Yeah, definitely. And at that time I thought all blacks was like, some niggas, but that certainly wasn't the case. And I knocked on his door, and I'm like, yo, what do you do? And luckily he was like, yo, sit down. And he told me, he was like, yo, I'm an HR business partner. And I'm like, yo, what's that? That sounds crazy. And he told me what he is. I couldn't even remember what he is, but because he was dressed the way he was dressed, he had this office. Everybody was like, and I said, business partner, that sounds amazing. That's what I want to do. And so I
went right back to the lab.
I went right back to the lab. And because there was no way that at that point in my life, I was going to go from where I was at JP, I was a coordinator, to a business partner.
So as a coordinator, to be a business partner, what's the requirements?
You need HR experience. And I was only in TA. I was a TA or a recruiting coordinator. You need to have how much experience? Probably anywhere. It depends on what level of business partner. I'd say anywhere from 3 to 5 years of real life HR generalist. So you go from being like a junior generalist to a generalist to a business partner. So what would happen for me is I would have went from being a TA coordinator to I would have had to have somebody give me an opportunity to say, all right, well, you don't only have TA, which is recruiting experience, talent acquisition. We're going to take a chance on you. And it happens a lot of times, but then you're going to be a junior generalist. You'll be a generalist. And then if a business partner role opens up and you interview best for it, we'll maybe give you a business partner role. I was okay with that, but I was like, I want to be a business partner. I do, And so I started applying for, I started doing exactly what I did before. I started looking at the job descriptions and saying, all right, what do you need to become a business partner? Where can I actually become a business partner? I applied for all the big companies, nothing. It ain't happening, right? So I started applying for smaller companies, and I got a call back from.
Wait. So you applied, but so as you're applying within your first year of JP Morgan Chase, you're applying and going on interviews.
I was getting phone call so I wasn't getting the interviews that I should have because I had no business partner experience.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
That's what I'm saying is that like the preparation of. And you asked me the other day, like, yo, how do you do it? I said, yo, there's this great thing called job descriptions. So like, I was just looking at the job descriptions that were posted, and I'm like, yo, how can I manufacture that? How can I get that experience? How can I stretch that? How can I do what I do at JP and learn how to position that on the resume? But it's not just the resume. The resume kind of gets you in the door. It's once you get that phone screen that, yo, what do you say on the phone? And I would prepare. And the way I would prepare is by failing. You get
Tell me
it.
that.
You
Yeah.
get it. You get it, bro. You trying to go from being a to X to Y, and Y you don't know, have no experience, bro. You gonna embarrass yourself a little bit.
That's like picking up a new sport and say, hey, I'm gonna play basketball now.
And I've never played basketball.
played
Or you know what? It's like saying I wanna play. You're a rugby player, and I want to play football. Because rugby and football, there's a little bit of things. So like, I'm not saying it's night and day, but going from this to that and a business partner, which is like kind of the highest in HR, it was different. But I failed a lot, and then I failed a lot. They some of them, they never called me back. Some of them they did. They say nah, and so but through all that, it helped me to learn what do I need to do, how do I need to position myself.
Prepare.
Yeah, and definitely again, you called it out. You helped me define it as preparation. I was just looking at it as the process, as work. I knew where I wanted to go, and I knew what I needed to do to get there. That is so important, is to knowing where you want to go. It even if I used to tell John, like, if you want to get to the moon, you could get there. Mm-hmm. You will get eventually. I always tell these kids when I used to go down to mom, if I say, yo, if you want to fly, you'll figure out a way how to fly. I learned that from you. If you really put your all into it, you would figure out a way to fly.
Absolutely.
You would figure out how to way to float, because you would go through so many different failures. And so, bro, I did that until I finally got. And what it is you got to be willing to, take some steps back or eat some crow. And so I got a business partner opportunity, but it wasn't with JP Morgan.
After 1 year.
Oh yeah.
A business partner role that requires 3 to 5 years
Definitely.
of strong HR experience, journal experience, which you're only talent acquisition.
Yeah, I don't got the general experience.
So you bypass all that through preparation, training, and studying.
Definitely. And
Sounds
just
like Steph Curry to me.
Trying to position yourself the right way. I think that for me, that's what it comes down to, is the opportunity. You have to be prepared for the opportunity and position yourself the right way. But just know the game. So I knew, like, it ain't happening for me, at no JP Morgan, going to be a business partner. And so
Even though JP Morgan, right, obviously, right, you could speak to this, is one of the largest banks,
the most successful bank in the world.
the most accessible bank in the world. So if let's think about this, right? Because I know we're in the same age bracket, right? So our parents, right? They come from this background of loyalty, right? You stay at one job and you'll climb up that ladder. But for you didn't see that, because if you saw, hey, if I'm loyal to JP Morgan Chase, for you to go from TA to business partner wouldn't take you the very next year. It would take you maybe the 3 to 5 or maybe more.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that could have worked. There's still a lot of colleagues. I have colleagues that were on my team that year in 2012 and 13 that they're still with JP, and they are business partners, or they're successful, making money. That just wasn't it for me, because I knew I didn't have their background. Some of them girls, they went to some of the best colleges. They had degrees in business. I didn't have that.
In competing with them,
it's not really a competition.
That,
yeah. And that's the other part. You got to be realistic. That's something that Jeff helped me understand too. You got to be realistic. You asked me before, how did I thrive? Mm-hmm. How did I thrive amongst super athletes? You got to know your role. And I knew that I wasn't them. I'm not bringing them. I don't got what y'all.
And that goes to show you right there, because you felt as though you didn't have the foundation, meaning college, right? The degree. You then knew you had to work harder, right? Prepare more to then succeed or shine, to thrive in a competitive environment.
There's no doubt about it. I had to work extra hard. And everybody says that you had to work double hard. I had to work double or triple hard because I'm also a black man. And they ain't giving no young black man tattoos and none of that from where I'm from Monmouth.
Head to toe.
They're not giving them outfits. They're not giving them they're not giving them opportunities out to unless they say, hey, we need a on the team, throw them one. But even when they throw them one, they ain't not throwing it to me, because there's so many dudes that went to Georgetown, got an MBA, got this, got that. Nah. And so but it's for me, it was being willing to, I accepted this job at iGate. It was a IT firm here in Jersey. They're a global organization, but it wasn't as name brand. I went from Park Avenue to Wood Avenue South. It's called in Islington, New Jersey. I went from Park Avenue to Wood Avenue. I went from stepping out, and it was just unbelievable. Just going from one to the next. But the reason why I did it, and people thought I was crazy. They say, yo, you leaving JP Morgan? Where you going? Morgan Stanley? Where you going? Goldman? I'm like, nah, I'm going to iGate. They was like, iGate. What is an iGate? And then when I showed up at iGate, I remember when I showed up there, because they interviewed me virtually. They didn't even bring me into the office, so I was scared it was a fake job. I went to the office, and it was all boxes, and it looked like it was a scam. And so I asked. Luckily there was a black woman, Her name was Adrian, and I'm like, hey, is this iGate? And she goes, yeah. I'm like, she goes, oh, you just got a job? And I'm like, yeah. Why you asking? She said, you thought we was fake? And so I was like, yeah. She goes, don't worry, we're just moving to the building next door. And so I was like, all right, but listen, it wasn't no outfit. It wasn't again, I'm on Park Avenue on the 42nd and 47th floor of 277 Park. I'm used to go to Madison. This is the richest, most successful place in all of the world. And now I'm going to
iGate,
where you're packing up your own box. You know what I'm saying? At JP, you're not packing up nothing. You know, so it's just like, man, like, is this where like the sign was kind of like hanging off? You know what I'm saying? You got the sign. They don't even got a sign on the thing.
But here you go, right? And right from outside looking in, you go from, you know, big time to small time, but not knowing that you're right internally, you're actually going title changes, and you're positioning yourself at this moment, because I knew, or you tell me if I'm wrong, right? It wasn't much money of a lot.
Oh, not. I mean, listen, it was a little bit. It was more. It was an increase, but because of the way that they was doing me at JP Morgan, it was the same. It was the same.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was the same.
So with that being said, but so you take a step back, right? As far as
name brand.
Yeah. But here you are taking a step up in title to then prepare yourself, because you know where you want to go at this point, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And at this point, you're trying to say, I'm trying to cut out all the gray area. I'm trying to get from point A to point B in the most straight like line as possible.
Best I could. Yeah.
And I would just think about this, right? So, and this is the most inspiring part, because here you are, you're at iGate, and how long did you stay there for?
I stayed at iGate for about 1 year and 8 months.
And what were you doing within the year and 8 months?
I went from I was a business partner at iGate, and that was my first time being a business partner. Got a lot of business partner experience, traveled and did this, and that was great.
But while you were there, what were you doing?
Oh, I was getting ready to go back, and when I go back, I was going back to the street. In the street in New York, the street is called Wall Street. I knew. And when I left JP Morgan, I said, I'm gonna be back. I remember telling people, telling myself, telling the sky, or telling the buildings, because I love the city.
God.
Speaking it in, I'm gonna be back. But when I come back, I'm coming back as a business partner. I'm coming back as an HRBP. I remember saying that. I remember being really clear. I didn't know when, because at that point, it's like, yo, man, it could be 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. It could be whatever. But I knew for a fact, I'm gonna be back. And when I be back, I'm gonna be a different Will.
So what does that process, right, from you at iGate, right, to now you saying, hey, I'm gonna be back, right? Because you get this business partner role, right? And here I am, we're kicking it, and always, you know, inspiring me. But here you are, you're at iGate, right? But you just get the job, and here you are interviewing again, because, and I'm thinking to myself, you just got this job. Like, what are we doing here? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know, I think well, number one is like it's a dichotomy, because I was where my feet were at, but at the same time knowing that that's not where my feet were, where I was going to be planted, right? Like,
because you wanted to be back to New York.
I wanted to be back, but also, you know, so now it gets down to what you was talking about before, the bread. I want to be back, but when I come back, I'm coming back I'm coming back with leverage. I'm coming back with experience. It's like the same things. I love the way sports works, is that, yo, you draft a boy in the 3rd or 4th round, right? They draft a boy in the 3rd or 4th round. That boy just want to go out there and eat. He don't care if you pay him $700,000, $70,000. He going to go crazy. Once he established himself, he not stepping back out there for less than $7 million.
So you're like that undrafted player.
Or a low drafted player. However, it's like, I knew when I come back, I'm coming back with a little stain. I'm coming back with a little cloud. And what it is, I'm coming back with some experience.
Because if you think about undrafted players, and I'm a basketball player, right? Undrafted players, you have nothing to lose. Literally nothing, but everything to gain. And right, and then once you put that work in, and you prepare for when your name is called, and then finally you become successful. Like you said, the next contract, guess what?
I'm gonna get mine. I'm gonna get mine.
It's on your terms now.
Yeah.
It's not, hey, whatever I could get, because you're hungry. You know what I'm saying?
But it doesn't have to be whatever you can get, because now you're not just getting what you can get.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not like before. Like you're taking. Well,
with iGate, I just took iGate because that was the only thing I could get.
Exactly.
Now it's a change. But no, being where your feet are. But no, we talked about this earlier this week, and it's great. You helped me understand is that. So I was interviewing. As soon as I got the job, I didn't do it as soon as I got the job, but fairly early on, I was interviewing for other business partner roles. But now granted, if I would have got the job, it would have been great. But it wasn't necessarily with the intent to get the job. It was the intent to prepare so that I can get back to, get back to the city, get back to the big time.
So you get this, and so how old are you at iGate? Because now you're HR business partner. Because
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
you sat down in J.P. Morgan Chase, right, with this black guy. I forget his name. Chris, who influenced and inspired you to become a business partner.
Yeah.
And then here you are within the first year at J.P. Morgan Chase, you get this HR. You know, you're a business partner at iGate. Yeah. And how old are you?
I'm 26.
26.
Yeah, I'm 26.
Okay, so you're at 26. So now you're preparing for the next stage of your life. So now what's next after business partner?
Yeah, I think it's and we talked about this too. It's respecting the game. So I knew iGate. I wasn't long for iGate. It wasn't, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't going to happen. But you still got to put the work in. You still got to gain the experience. You still got to, like, I really have a respect for the grind. I really have a respect for the game, for people that came before me. So I was learning from some of my peers. I was learning from my manager. I was learning on my own, you know? So again, that's what I'm saying. I was where my feet was at. I just knew that that's not where I was going to plant my flag. But what came next, and it's just God, man. It's just God. When you prepare, you know, and the next opportunity for me was NASDAQ.
So talk to me about NASDAQ, because I know NASDAQ now, like you said, you told yourself, I'm coming back.
I'm coming back.
Is this you back?
I'm back.
You back?
There's no doubt about it.
So I'm back in New York, NASDAQ.
I'm back in the city, making some. Well, at the time I thought it was some real cheese. I'm making some real cheese. Now, what's the difference is there's bonuses. There's bonuses, and oh man, the DAX start. They just open you up to a whole new world.
So I feel as though, right, and of course, you know, you being at iGate, of course, you know, HR business partner, but now at NASDAQ, I feel like, you know, now you've solidified, right, whether it's to yourself or whomever, that, you know, it doesn't, like, that fear of saying, you know what, I didn't come from this prestigious school no more. I've created my resume and I'm him.
Yeah.
Is that where you're
at? Yeah,
now?
no, for sure. Once you're there, and it took me a while, because I remember them saying to me, like because I'm always that undrafted guy. So, you know, and I'm still young. I still don't really know what's going on. I still don't really know what a business partner is, because you got to think about it. I only did it a year. So I'll be up in the meetings and I wouldn't say anything. It wasn't until my manager grabbed me. She said, "Hey, man, where you at? Like, where's the guy I interviewed?" And I'm like, "What you mean?" She's like, "You quiet as a church mouse." And so, because I was scared, and I'm one of the few black people in there. And so, like, it's just very, very intimidating. You're in this huge building on a big floor. All these people are, these are some of the smartest people in the world that you're around. And so it's like, I don't necessarily have that. But as time goes on, and as, you know, what I have is me. People really buy into me, and in that work. Like, whereas some people, they may be naturally smart or had the experience. I'm gonna just work it. I'm gonna work it. I'm gonna be there. I'll get there. We talk about I get to the job at 7:07. There's years where I would be at the job at 7:07. I was on a 5:48 or a 6:12 train.
Well, you're at NASDAQ, right? And let's talk about how you get to IPG, right? So you're a business partner. What's next now? Like, and what are you doing to prepare for the next step, or the next chapter of your life?
I spent a few years at the DAC. I spent a few years at NASDAQ, and just learning, learning the process, learning how to be a business partner, learning the ins and outs of HR. But it was there that I kind of fell in love with employee relations, or the legal aspect of it, the conduct, the investigations, the law and the policy of it. And so I did that for a while. I ended up accepting a VP role at Marsh & McLennan after 3 years at iGate.
And what's 3 years at Marsh?
Marsh & McLennan. Marsh is the biggest insurance brokerage in the world.
Wow.
It is.
And so there, are you a business partner?
Yeah, I'm a VP business partner. Yeah,
VP.
Vice president. Yeah, that was a big deal.
So this is like, as far as career, this is like
it goes to what you just said in terms of, like, do you now start to feel like you've arrived and you're him? Yeah, because now it's like, again, that undrafted guy that's like, hey man, I made a couple Pro Bowls, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to necessarily prove myself not only to y'all, but I don't have to prove myself to me anymore. Because there's a big what is it? Not an identity crisis, but whatever that thing is called, where you don't believe in you don't even think that you have it. Imposter syndrome. That's what it's called. Where, like, you sitting there and it's like, yo, I'm here, but I know I don't belong here. Yo, once I'm at Marsh and I'm a VP, bruh, I know I'm supposed to be here. I know, maybe not at this level, but it feels different. I became a VP. I did 27. I think I was 31 years old.
30
or 31 years old. Yeah.
How many people at in that age bracket are VPs?
I mean, I think it's different, right? So like in finance, you may become a VP at any time, but overall, you don't really become a VP until you're maybe between like the age of 38 to 45, something around there, ordinarily. But in finance and banking, you become a VP a little bit earlier on. But no, it was a big deal, man. It was came with some money and all that.
Even with being at Marsh, here you are still not satisfied with the status quo. Here you are still going on interviews. Here you are still preparing for where you're at right now. Yes.
So at Marsh, I was a little bit more settled, but some things that happened, that's just the corporate game. And because you had my eyes, like when you're there, you got to learn how the things go. A couple of my managers left. The guy that I was working for, being a business partner, the business partner who I was primarily a business partner for, he left, and then I got a new manager. She was great, but I just wasn't her cup of tea. I'm a specific type of business partner, and listen,
just like fitting in a team when you're recruiting and trying to.
Well, if we're a passing team, and now we just hired a coach who runs the ball. And you, hey man, I'm not long here. They gonna get rid of me at some point. And so one of the first things I just knew it was time, because the way she worked was different than the way I worked, and I wasn't the one to hire me. But the first thing she said, she gave me one of the biggest bonuses in my life. It was a blessing. But when she gave it to me, it wasn't her that chose to give it to me. It was my previous manager, just because of the timing. And she said, when she gave it to me, because she had to communicate, she goes, "Oh man, that's a lot of money." And when she said that, I knew it was over. Cause like she's saying like, yo, if it was up to me, there's no way you getting all this money. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just great. But having my eyes out to kind of know like, like this is not a sustainable situation. And at that time, I knew I wanted to go into law. I wanted to go into employee relations. And so I kind of took a step back. I accepted, just like again, I took not only I accepted this job at FedEx, but it paid a lot less, $80,000 less than what I was making. No real live, no bonus. I'm not gonna tell you what my bonus was, where it was, but it was pennies, basically that. But it allowed me to get legal experience, investigations experience, and I did the whole process over again from when I went from, the library to thing, and I just started, interviewing for employee relations
right back
jobs.
To the basics.
And I went right back to a library to kind of figure out, how do I do this? I interviewed with a lot of companies, and trying to do HR is one thing, but trying to do the law is something completely different. You have to have some knowledge in it.
This is where it leads you to be now a law student.
Well, it led me to employee relations. So I got very lucky, and I ended up accepting I got the job at FedEx doing investigations with lawyers. I got a job with a nonprofit in the city. I was like kind of their head of employee relations, and that really I earned my stripes. I earned my stripes. I prepared. I came in really humble with my hat in my hand. I wasn't trying to be Will Big Dog from NASDAQ or Marshall, JP Morgan. I was just Will Manley, trying to learn ER, and I got the experience. And then there's an opportunity. Now, getting back to what we talking, I was interviewing. When I had those positions, I was interviewing because I wasn't making the cheese, and I knew I wanted to be with the big boys. You know what I'm saying? And I also wanted to learn. So the best way to learn is while you're doing it, but also to interview and see what other people are talking. And like the best thing you could do is see what's out there and then see what you need to get there. And that's what led me doing the law school thing I'll get to. But it's like I started interviewing, and I got lucky with this job at IPG, the head of employee relations. So you got to think about it, because I went from being a business partner within literally 3 years to the head of employee relations, which is it's God. It ain't nothing to do with me, but it's God too. I'm a VP, head of employee relations here at IPG, and it's absolutely amazing. But being here and knowing now that I'm fully in this legal space, I'm like, yo, I'm not qualified. I need more. In order to really do this, I need more. And in order to really do it, I need a law degree. So that's why I'm
and how are you preparing for this right now?
Number one, law school is ridiculously hard. It's tough. It's challenging. I got to put the work in every single night with my classes. I got to prepare for those classes. I got to prepare for the exams. I have to prepare for, you have to read hundreds of cases. You have to read hundreds of case law, different laws. It is being a lawyer, and I'm not trying to be a lawyer. I just want my JD, but going to law school in America or the United States is one of the most difficult things to do in the country. And especially, it's hard to do. One of my lawyers said it was the hardest thing she ever did at 24. So imagine doing it at 38, where I have a job, I have a child, I'm head of the department, and like you learn a lot easier when you're younger, not when you get older. So it's a challenge, but I'm doing it because I know where I want to go, and for where I want to go, I need that JD. And so, just again, the preparation.
Do you know what you're called to do?
Ah, man, I think you helped me just to understand this just a couple days ago. When I first answered it, I said I'm a teacher. But you were just helping me flesh it out, as they would say. I think it's motivating, right? And it's inspiring. Yeah. And so like anybody that and again, I don't set out to do it, but when I sit down with folks, you know, the energy that I come with, the passion, how vivid I am, how transparent and vulnerable I am. Like the story I kind of shared with you today, there ain't no big up. You know what I'm saying? I didn't say like, oh man, I can't. I started at literally at the bottom, you know, and just really working and being open to it. But I think it's inspiring. I think it's being an influence. I think it's helping. Like I just came from my church. I love to help. That's something that I got from my mom. I'm not here to listen, man. I love the suits and I love the money. And I love the life. I love everything that comes with it. I love those 2 letters in front of my name, VP. I love all of it. But what I'm actually here for, what God put me here for, is to help, right? He blessed me with all of this so that I can give it, so I can give it out. Like whenever he calls me, hopefully I'm going, you know, home, you know, whenever he calls me, whether it be tomorrow or whether it be 40 years from now, John and I always talk about, I want to go out empty. I don't want to leave not one thing in the tank. And so what I mean by that is I've accumulated a lot of knowledge. And so I try to share that as much as I can. I try to inspire, whether it be out in the football field, working with dudes. I be with your son, you know what I'm saying? Like no matter what it is.
It's still in the library. With Mia.
Still in the library every week with my child. I got my godson, you know, Marcus's son, just going there and he don't be wanting to go. But now it's like, yo, we're going to go to the library? Well, we're going to go to the library.
And creating this work ethic.
Oh yeah. No, for sure. You know, with him, he like you, so I gotta like, well, what you gonna get me? What do you want? But it's something that now we go into that library, and Mia, she didn't want to go. You know, my daughter did not want to go to the library at all. But now it's like, what you want to do is kind of make them comfortable with the work, with the preparation, with that element of it.
Process.
Yeah, I remember I even told you with this, it's falling in love with the process. Not necessarily with the result, because the result, you can't control the result, but you can control the effort that you put into the process.
Absolutely. This goes to my next question. Do you feel prepared now for what God has called you to do, or is he still preparing you?
Oh, he's still preparing me, because what he calls me to do, it's ever evolving, right? Like, so like it may be in one instance, it may be this, you know, but it's ever evolving. And so I look at life, again, as I'm a lifelong learner. And so one of the reasons why I'm in law school, you're challenging yourself. Once I'm done with law school, I'm gonna go and get my MBA. Once I'm done with this, I'm gonna try something else, is because, you know, you want to be a lifelong learner. You never want to stop challenging yourself and accumulating knowledge. And I'll be honest with you, for me, a lot of it comes down to the financial aspect of it. If it wasn't for money, I'm a lazy dude. I'll sit back and chill. But there is that carrot for me that the more I do X, the more that I'm probably gonna be compensated, and that feels great. That does.
What pushes you today to continue to pursue this idea of building a strong work ethic within preparation?
What pushes me today? It's kind of going back to what we said with the weight room and having a little bit of success. Like, I look at it like, yo, dog, I'm 38 years old. I'm the head of this department. Imagine
I'm so
what it
proud
could
of
be.
you, bro.
Listen, it's God.
I'm proud of you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But what pushes me is that, yo, again, when Jeff would take us on Friday, like, yo, let's go work on arms on Fridays and let you see what's happening with your body. Mm-hmm. Looking in the mirror. And so like when I kind of look over and I'm like, oh man, that sign say my name on it. Mm-hmm. You feel me? Or I go down to Monmouth and the kids ask me, the university asked me to come back and speak. It's like, yo, like, y'all asking me to speak. I was down here trying to get the girls, and y'all, it's that seeing that does it. And then also I gotta you know, I have a child that I want to continue to inspire and influence and obviously provide a good life for. But the best part for me is that I want her to see me. She don't know what's going on right now, but she knows I'm in law school. I want her to see me like, wait, my dad don't need to be doing this. Why is he doing this? And then because now when I look back at my mom, I'm like, man, she did a lot. My dad did that when he did that. I could do that. And so it goes back to what you said about my father, is that like, maybe I didn't know him like that, but when people come up and say, yo, man, he was brilliant, I'm like, I got that pumping through my veins. And so just trying to motivate her. But it's seeing, listen, man, there's nothing like seeing your wins that makes you want to win more. Playing quarterback, I never thought that, so I'm short, I couldn't really see over the line. When I first completed my first ball, and it's like, oh, bro, I could do this. I could do this, and I could do this at a high level. So,
well, I got my last question for you.
Sure.
Is what advice would you give someone who's looking to better prepare themselves for what life throws at them?
Oh man, for what life throws at them is, I think it's understanding, who you are and what you're trying to be. because life is going to be crazy, whether it be your personal life, your professional life, your emotions, haters, whatever the case may be. But when you understand who you are in God's eyes, right? Who God purposed you and created you to be, it don't matter. They say, the house that was built on sand, when the water comes, it's going to wash away. But the house that's built on God and God's word, they can come and rock and beat it and nothing's going to happen to it. And so it's understanding who I am. Basically what my mom told me was, hey, you're not such and such son. Understanding who I am and then understand where I want to be. I just walked you through my journey. I could have went crazy with that journey, but I understood I wanted to be a business partner. I understood I wanted to be employee relations. Now, 4 years from now, it's going to be something else. And so having that in mind, now I was telling you before, before there was GPS, there was MapQuest. Mm-hmm. We would go online and we would download it, get the paper, and then that's how we know where we're going. It's a MapQuest. And so I'll say that. And then always being open
That's
to
a great parallel.
Being open to change, being open to the evolution of it, not just getting set in your ways and understanding that life goes in, this is something that I struggle with, this life goes in phases and there's going to be changes and there's going to be this and that. And like, if things don't change, then you're not life.
You're not evolving.
Yeah.
And so I think what struggles is that in the change, if it's not going your way, what are we doing, right? And so what I learned for myself is that when things aren't going my way, is to have faith in God. And because I understand I'm going to control the controllables and I'm going to put my faith in everything else that I can't control.
Yeah, you know what it is that, and it's big, John helped me understand this, John Allen, is that when you really walking with God, and this is the challenge, bro, when you really, really walking with God, it's not my will be done, but thy will be done. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, if you study the Bible, the majority of the people in the Bible, it wasn't fun. It wasn't pleasurable. You know what I'm saying? If you think about anybody you think in the Bible, now maybe it ended for them well, but if you see the journey that they went on, mm-hmm. that thing, Joseph or Moses or even who is the most famous person in the Bible? Jesus Christ. Think about Jesus and think about what ended up happening to Jesus. Mm-hmm. That's not the journey that we signing up for, but think about what ended up happening with that. Because Jesus was more than willing to do God's will, we were saved. And so when you really truly understand that, when things not going my way, if I'm doing what I know that God had me to do, even though it may not be fun to me, even though it may not be the most lucrative to me, even though I had this plan and I was going to be making this, and I was be living here and I was be doing this, if I know I'm doing God's will, then it's with a greater purpose, and I have that that peace, and that's what that comes with. Because you can make a lot of money, you can be doing, but if you're not doing God's will, and maybe you could be lying to yourself, but there's something that comes with doing the will of God that, again, it's not my will, and it's crazy for me because my name is Will, so it's hard for me to. You got to, and this is what John and I talk about earlier. You have to die every day to live for Christ. You got to die every day. Every day you got to wake up and say, I'm going to die for Him.
I believe
the way that Jesus 100%. Did.
Mm-hmm. And so Will, I appreciate you coming on here and telling your story and really inspiring me every single time that we get to kick it. Will, your journey reminds me of a story of Joseph in the Bible. Before the palace there was a pit, but every season, even the painful ones, were preparation for purpose. Like you, he didn't just arrive, he was prepared. So, and this leads me to, as a token of my appreciation, I want to gift you this this Faith by Me blessing journal.
Thank you.
And this journal is to help you capture prayers, the steps, and the stories ahead. For anyone who's looking, you can find this Faith by Me blessing journal on the Kickin' It With Me website. Let's close this episode in prayer. God, thank you for my cousin Will's story. Thank you for every season of preparation, both seen and unseen. May his life be a reminder that you never waste a step. Prepare us, God, for what you have prepared us for. In Jesus' name, amen. And that's a wrap for today's episode. Remember, preparation isn't a season, it's a lifestyle. And now to close us out, here's a song from the Kickin' It With Me soundtrack that captures this truth. This one's called I Really Want It by Bobby Krulls. Enjoy, and don't forget to stream the full album off our website. Like, subscribe, and follow for more. God's Little Soldier, out.
great. The time has arrived, no time to be late. I prayed for a chance, it finally came. If you from the bottom, you probably relate. Felt it for years, I know it's my fate. I could've just quit, but I'm happy I stayed. I feel the vibes, I know that they hate. They criticize me like I'm in the way. Hear what they say, we making a way. And I will be damned if they take it away. I remain focused and play every day. Turn up the music to take me away. What can you say? Know that it's real. I'ma keep grinding, don't care how you feel. Grinding for years, just so many tears. And now is the time that I conquer my fears. I really want it, I really need it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I won't stop till it's mine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I really want it, I really need it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I won't stop till it's mine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If only my rhymes could really describe all of the time I was looking for signs. So many nights I sat up and cried. Could've just quit, but I had to decide. Working a job, I'm living a lie. Something about music that keeps me alive. Went through depression cause I was deprived. Gotta break through if I'm trying to survive. Prove to the haters I'm not just a guy. No, I got talent, I gotta apply. Thought I was dead, but I just revived.